I'm Richard Louie, live at MSNBC headquarters here in New York City.
I'd been a journalist for 15 years, and then my dad got diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
It's my son, Richard.
Good to see you too.
It was a lonely road until I found others.
The oncologist said that it looked like somebody had taken Kate and dipped her in cancer.
We know he struggles with PTSD and mild traumatic brain injury. The VA actually considers him 350% disabled.
Of course, I have an Afghan flag in here.
Constant alertness, watchfulness, inability to sleep.
Sometimes he wakes up crying.
Anger and frustration and rage at times. Boom. That's it. My mind was a mess.
In this house, we say the word cancer, with a little lilt in our voice, but
he knows. He knows that something's not good.
I'm Richard, your son.
Truth is hard, it's scary. Courage is being okay with that vulnerability.
So much of our struggle goes unseen.
When we talk about hidden wounds, we're often talking about mental health conditions.
You're facing a new emotional challenge, aren't you?
I'm not ready to be a single parent.
I will do whatever it takes to stay with him as long as I can.
If you recognize me, blink once.
You only get one of these in a lifetime. Love you.
The reason that I can carry on, it's because of family, community, and love.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for Hidden Wounds. I am Kuya P with Nerds Rule the World. And as you see on the screen, I have a special guest, the director behind Hidden Wounds, Mr. Richard Liu. Thank you so much for your time. I know you've been traveling. You have the busy life as a journalist, anchor, just with everything you do, and as a filmmaker with this deep film. I gotta say, I probably shouldn't watch a film the same day that I do the interview, because I'm still, especially a film like this, because I still wrapped up in those emotions. I'm an empath. I'm an actor. I just, I feel with everything that I am. And this film is so beautiful. It's so strong, and it's so important. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you come on. My channel is essentially a pop culture channel where we talk about a lot of nerdy things. But, over the past, really with the pandemic, I started, I have a love for documentaries. And I wanted to talk about things that just affect me and things that I care about.
Yeah.
People come on to talk about Ferguson and being an Asian American, being a former military guy, having friends that are caregivers, having been a caregiver in some small fashion in different respects. This just hits all the buttons that just, I feel this film, and I can't thank you enough for creating awareness with this film and also sharing your story. And I'd like to start with that. This film, as shown through the film, kind of starts with you. Tell me about opening up yourself to share this with the world and bring people to become aware of such an important issue.
Yeah, we're in this stuff, right, Patrick? First of all, thank you so much. Love nerds. I'm a nerd too, and I mean it in a way that it's been a long journey to understand what that equals. I'll still figure it out over time, but you don't, as an actor, as an empath, as a person that's a communicator. There's some things that we don't always share, or we don't think we're going to share. And it's not because we're not being, real. We're not being transparent. It's just because we're human. And one of the things I never thought I would start talking about when I started to become a journalist was, number one, that I'm a man of color. I never thought I was going to have to talk about that on TV. Never thought it was going to be what defines me. I never thought that that's what exactly the first thing somebody sees in this rectangle is this, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's been a long journey to say, it's okay. It's the right thing. It's what I am, and it empowers me to see things I might not see otherwise. And the other part, because there's times where in our life where we're like, oh, I've come of age. I'm a man. I've done it like 5 times now, right? It's just like, every these things that change your life. And for me, caring for my dad over the last 6 years changed my life. And trying to share that is not what I would really want to do. I'm not one of those like, look at me sort of folks. But I did it because I wanted to show what it meant to go through mental wellness and mental unhealth, if you will, or emotional health, and where that would take me, and that it's not always what we think it is. Like when you think about somebody who says, "Oh, I'm concerned about my mental health," that means they're a person screaming at the sky in the street. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. Just like I'm worried about, okay, should I have 3 steaks in the next week or not? It's not good for my health, right? Not good for my body, my heart. Same thing for the brain and our brain health. So I felt like it was worth sharing my story for the last 6 years to show other people's story. It was a vehicle to get to the bigger issue of mental health and to show other people's stories of how they deal with it too. And it's something we got to talk about, especially during May, which is, Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Yep, right.
And Asian American Pacific Heritage Month.
And there you go.
And it's so important in our community. I think one of the things I have a show called Show Pal Show where I highlight, I'm of Filipino descent, and I highlight Filipinos in that. And, there's a whole, I think, well, for many of us Asian Americans, there's that whole kind of generational immigrant conversation that we always have. But no, thank you again for sharing. So I guess you're one of the subjects of this film. How did you go about choosing these 2 other folks that are in there? And man, I have to say, this at the very end, again, I saw it today. It hit me hard to find out that one of the subjects, I don't want to mess up her name. If you can give her name, she just passed away a month ago, and that's just so. It's like now it just really hit me at that moment. Like, yeah. It
hit us too. When I let the team know, because it's a group of about 50 volunteers that helped put this movie together. It does. It was emotional, and I was glad that I was able to feel it. Sometimes we're wondering, after we go through these projects, where you end up, and after like I was reporting on Buffalo over the weekend, and I've reported on Ferguson, you brought up. I've reported on that, and I was in the streets, and Freddie Gray, and I reported on Atlanta spa shootings, all these things that just, and I worry that, have I lost my feeling? And when Kate Thomas passed, there was, she gave us a gift in sharing her story of how she was caring for her, 5 and then 7-year-old son, trying to teach him how to say goodbye to her, and also how to say, you're going to grow up without me. And, she shared with us some of the videos that she recorded. She started recording videos that Matthew, her son, would be able to play after she's gone. When she told me, I met with her last summer, and she said, I'm going to pretend I'm not, and I know you know this because you saw the movie. I'm going to pretend like this is my last summer. I'm going to treat this like this is my last summer. And that was so heavy when she told me when I interviewed her. And it was her last summer.
Man. Man, it's so heartbreaking. So back to my original question, and again, I just wanted to honor her memory. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Now this family will have this film to remember her. That's the one thing that I think is the power as documentarians and as filmmakers, and what you do. It will be a lasting memory for those that may not have that capability. But
Matthew will see the courage in his mother and his father, and look, it took a long time for her to say yes. It wasn't like, oh yeah, yes. I'm going to sit with you, Richard, and your team for the next 3 years. No, she wanted to make sure we were going to honor every moment. And I've told all of them, what you give me is a gift. You and I talking, I take it as a gift. Like, well, you went through the trouble of putting up the faces of Luke and Amy Bouchatz in your background because you're honoring the movie and the time we got right now. And, as interviewers, we shouldn't take it for granted. If we take it for granted that we have this moment, then, maybe rethink it. Kate honored us with 3 years of talking to us. And look, I'm going to take all that is on tape. I'm going to give it to that family. And the purpose is to show that caring for other people counts and it's worth it. And it's the little things, in family and outside of family. And that's what you see with they're young. They're young. I mean, he's 32, 33, 34. The husband, she was 39, 40, 41. Their son is 5, 6, 7 years old as you see them, grow older. And I feel like I'm lucky to be here with you, because Kate's gone, but she's trying to say, do the right thing with your family and with other people. And, that's a value I think we need more of, and we need to see it in real ways. And, again, they're not older folks. They're young folks, right? Yeah. 5 to 7, 30 something, 40 something.
So, man, whew, yeah, that's it's hitting me again. I'm trying not to cry during these interviews, but I'm an empath. I get emotional. So, back to the question I had at that right at the beginning. How did she come to you, and how did you select these folks to be the other subjects within the story?
I was on a journey to discover what it was like to care for my dad as well. Like, was I the only person? And, when you're caregiving for another family member that's living with a disability, my dad had Alzheimer's. In Kate's case, her family was taken care of because she had stage 4 cancer. In the Bouchatz family, which is behind you right now, Luke had PTSD symptoms and TBI symptoms. And how did Amy and her children take care of Luke? And how did our roles change when we're caring for somebody we care about? I was caring for my dad. What did it mean for our lives? Like me, I changed my career thanks to my boss, Yvette Miley, to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I could fly back home to take care of my dad from New York to San Francisco 2 or 3 times a month. And I was really curious, how alone was I and am I doing that? And Patrick, I got to tell you that I found out I am not alone. I am with a group that lives and cherishes and grasps and embraces every moment. I just came from an Alzheimer's event last night in Washington, D.C. And man, I call it like a Baptist church revival, because all 1,000 of us, like, we just hug and we cry and we laugh and we just, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
like a good Filipino family.
That's real talk right there.
We eat, right?
Yes, because that's how we share love and show love is by taking care of one another. I know it. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am an honorary Filipino. Yes, you are.
I'm an honorary Filipino.
Yeah.
I grew up in San Francisco, and I know that richness that is part of life and family. And then I was there with those caregivers.
All right, we are having some technical difficulties. Richard, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big family, and we just, as soon as I sat with each of them when I was interviewing them, it's always, you always wonder, because I interviewed children too, from 5 to 11 years old, and I was worried, old guy Richard interviewing young kids, like this tall. What's it going to be like? You can imagine, right? You know what I'm talking about.
But it was good, though. It was impactful, I have to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It hit me a little bit too there. Woo.
No, you are right, because that we're all just what we are. And when I told them I'm caring for my dad like you're caring for your dad and mom, and it didn't matter the age. Did not matter, Patrick. Did not matter. They gave me everything. And when they did that, I knew, how when somebody gives you something and you take it And I was like, all right, I'm going to be protecting these 3 kids and what they told me. But what I realized is that we are in this together, regardless of age. There are 5 million children caring for parents, like the picture behind you. 5 million children, 17 and younger. That's got to make you feel really good, because that's a good quality. They're doing it now. And so that's why I picked them. That's how I learn from them, And my obligation in the film was to talk about something that may not be what you first do when you're surfing and you're you know, I don't want to watch this tonight or watch this, you know, but it may not be the first thing. But if you do watch it, I think it is really invigorating to understand what it means to love somebody in your family and what it means to go all the way to take care of them and help them regardless of your age.
Absolutely. It reminded me of just how precious time is, and having these conversations, these hard conversations with your significant others, family members, that to hopefully, you know, in case you ever find yourself in that situation, how we're going to deal with it and how we're going to take the responsibility. And man, I was feeling all the emotions with you, with your part of the story, and dealing with your father, and then to have it happen again with your mom. And I know you're currently dealing with that. It just rips my heart to shreds as an impact. Yeah. But it's so important, and we have to learn to deal with it as a family. And yeah, I hope this starts the conversations. And to that point, I'm sure that's kind of the message I would say, and what you want to say to the world with this. If you could maybe just add a little bit more in regards to, you know, now that you had it premiere. Did it premiere at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific American Film Festival recently?
Yes, that was our Los Angeles premiere. That's right. And we may be doing something with that festival again on the East Coast. But the purpose of the film was to say, you know, mental health is like physical health, and to say caring for other people is worth it, and that what we see here isn't the whole story, right? What Patrick, when I see you and you see me, there's more than just this, and let's think twice about that and really ask, how are you doing? You know, people say, hey, how you doing? No, really say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, that moment right after you ask, how are you doing?
Oh yeah.
And then the other person says,
right there in that moment.
That's right. I'm okay. And then you just go, man, I'm glad. You know what I mean? It's just that really mean, how are you doing? And because there's so much happening right now. And I'm hoping that the film opens the idea of discussing real care about our mutual mental health, and that we also think about what we can do in our families to take care of each other.
Oh yeah. Woo. Man. Okay. So another thing that I really enjoyed, especially I checked out the press kit that was provided. The fact that, you know, the focus is mental health, but also the cognizance to represent fully behind the screen just blew my mind away. Shout out to the amazing women in the team that helped you put this film together. I was like, what? You know, you made it a point. And you know, I try to make that a point in everything I do. I try to make that with material, because there's not enough product out there as an Asian American, as a Filipino American. And I'm just going to do that just something is in me. I'm going to make that happen. And the fact that was in this as well, kudos and props to you. Can you please talk about the team that you assembled to help you tell this story?
You know, the thing is, you know, these are not big budget things, right? These are small budget things. These are independent films. And first of all, I don't know why independent filmmakers do what they do. You know, I'm late in the game, right? This is only my second film. You know what I mean? I'm 6 years in on this, and before that, I was a journalist, and before that, I was in business. But I knew that every dollar that I raised for this nonprofit film had to be spent wisely and with responsibility, because, you know, in the film, I'm representing underrepresented groups. I'm representing not only by skin color or by region, Alaska, Virginia. I'm also the other underrepresentation are those who are going through and living with a mental disability. We don't, those are underrepresented, misunderstood. You don't see it. People go, Richard, how is this a film about intersectionality? Well, think about these folks. What are they sharing with you? And the military community, there's 2 military families in it. Both my parents are from military families. They never talk about it. Never talked about it. Never talked about it. These are all. There's religious inclusion in the film. There's some decisions. Actually, Luke, who you see sitting behind you in that shot, he sang. I was sitting there interviewing him, and he says, "Yeah, I sing for therapy." I was like, "What is an Army Ranger? He sings for therapy. Like he sings that he feels." I was like, "Really? You? I mean, that doesn't fit with the male masculine archetype masculinity thing, which we all know that can be very destructive." Yeah. And the thing is that he was like, "I don't care." So I said, "Well, sing a song." He's like, "Nah." I said, "Come on." He's in the camera. Lights are on, right?
Yeah.
And he just starts singing "How Great Thou Art." Good old church hymn, just sings it. And we had it in the cut before, and then we pulled it out. Then we put it back in. Then we pulled it out. And the thing is, with religious inclusion, religion is part of many of our lives. It's not part of some of ours, and that's fine too, but it's part of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And religious inclusion is important for the film. Now, behind the camera, though, which you're asking, so I just want to talk about inclusion and on screen, by the way, Patrick, and then I want to, behind the screen, the film crew is 100% women, 100%. And the thing is, in all the years that I've been in the field, not that I'm against male photographers and directors of photography, I just knew that I wanted to have also representation. So I never have had a female director of photography in the years that I've been working for network TV and national TV. So we had a 100% solid crew that happened to be women. Of the money that we raised, over 80% of it, 85, 86, I believe is the number, in terms of where we spent it, went to contractors and subcontractors that were underrepresented, either because of their people of color or because of gender representation, orientation, sexual orientation, you pick it. We knew that we had to walk the talk.
Oh, and I can't thank you enough for that. It's what I strive for. And to just see somebody on your level still doing that as well. I feel like it's upon us as the next generation to make sure things happen, and to just see that you're doing that as well is beautiful. Another thought I had in mind. I have so many thoughts. Again, I'm sorry. I should have wrote some of these things down.
It's all good.
Generally, I'm off the cuff and go, but when I feel certain things with something, I just try to come from the heart, because I think that's some of the best questions. And self-care for yourselves as you're doing this, because this had to be hard. Obviously, you were the subject of the piece, so you can't help but be raw in your emotions with the film crew taping you. But I'm sure they probably had a step to the side. How did the crew comfort each other? Because I have other documentarian friends and filmmaker friends, and that's why I probably don't do so many documentaries, because I'm an empath. I'm going to feel it, and I don't think it'd be professional to do that, right there. So how did you all comfort each other while doing such a hard piece like this?
Like every team and every group of friends, right? We're all different. We all take in experiences of life and process it differently. And we had everybody. We had Miel Ezra, who was the lead sound engineer, who was our emotional bedrock and not letting us forget the emotion behind the film. Like she would sit there, and I would sit here interviewing. That's the camera, and then the interviewees on the other side, and Miel, the lead sound engineer, would sit next to me. And so I'm facing this way. She would turn facing the opposite way. So she's not seeing me or the person I'm interviewing. And the reason being is because would start crying during, like with Kate, she was crying almost all the way through. You know, with some of the other interviews I've done with her, and it's not because this is not the overreaction. No, this is the real reaction, right? It's the heart. Like you say, an empath, that's her too. That's exactly, Patrick, you and Miel are like similar.
Yeah.
Like she would just be crying next to me. You know what she was doing? She was reminding me, Richard, you know, don't be too journalistic-y. You know, don't be Mr. Anchor, right? Don't be like, you know, and she would, after the interview, she'd always pull me aside and she'd go, you know, Richard, you know, I'm worried about them. Are they okay? Is she going to make it to the next interview? We have to come back. We have to come back. Those are real empathetic responses, right? Real empathetic responses. And that was the lead sound engineer. I gave her the credit of a producer because she was so, and has been so instrumental about really caring about what we're trying to do here. And you know, that's hard to find. That's really hard to find.
Oh yeah.
And then the director of photography, Eliana, you know, her role when she was coming out was, okay, well, how do I get this done? How do I get the sequences done? That's important too, right? Let's stay on target. And mine was, how do we show their heroic moments? And so, you know, the self-care was really, depending who you were, you dealt with it in a different way. For me, you know, I'll be very honest with you. That whole process, I don't know if I was okay or not. I don't know if I'm okay now or not. But I know these conversations have been part of what have helped me stay healthier. So when I'm asked these questions, I always kind of stop and think, am I okay? And I'm like, well, I cried more than I ever did. I laughed more than I ever did when I was caring for my father. My father passing in December after Christmas, and he being a pastor, you know, he wanted one more Christmas with the family. And then, you know, he lived his whole life as a pastor for this time, for this day. It is still painful, right? It is. But I cannot help but be so happy for him. And he also is laughing all the way to the bank. He got his pastor's son to do a movie about caregiving, two of them. and he got his pastor's son to write a book about selflessness. I think he did okay. And you know, taking care of my dad with Alzheimer's was, there's things in your life you don't realize that it's changing your life until you look back and go, holy Hannah, man, I did not know. I just went in there because I want to take care of my pops, right?
Yeah.
But it changed actually my career and what I care about and what I do. And it's just, you know, the self-care is part of that life-changing thing. I think I'm okay, but I'm not sure if I'm okay sometimes. And I got to say about mental wellness, that being able to say that out loud, the more you can do that is part of, I believe it's part of the process.
Completely.
To say, I'm not sure if I'm okay, but I'm okay with not being sure if I'm not okay because I'm saying it, right? That's a part of my journey. You know, there'll be a time, right? Exactly. There'll be a point where I can talk about it better, but take what I got now, please, Patrick, and know that I'm giving you everything I can say. That I don't know if I'm okay, but I feel okay about not knowing.
I'm honored to hear that, because it makes me feel comfortable and for myself, and I know for people that are going to watch this, it's going to make them feel comfortable. It's going to help create the change that we need to have for mental healthness and mental well-being, and it's so important. We got to say it, like you said.
We gotta say it, and we, you know, don't put it into like a 1 or a 0. Don't make it like you're crazy because you're challenged with your mental health. No,
exactly.
You're not crazy. You might be out of health. Like I'm out of shape. I'm out of shape physically. I'm also out of shape up here. That's okay. I can make it a little stronger, right? That's okay to say that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So the film had its Los Angeles Asian American Pacific Film Festival premiere. I'm in on the site that you have, Hidden Wounds film.org or .com, I believe.
Hiddenwounds.com. Mm-hmm.
We can learn more, and there's a counter to when it will debut in November. And hopefully everywhere, streaming in theaters. And this message and this conversation will hopefully start even more. What are other things that you all are planning to help get the word out in between now and November? Besides like talking to folks like myself, and what can we do? What would you like to see? How can we support the people that are watching this and listening to this interview?
I mean, share it with others. Tell stories about others that are going through that journey, and know that it's not all. This is not about negative. It's about difficulty, but finding joy despite difficulty. You know, you and I are talking about something very serious, but this is also really great.
Yeah,
this is really great. And sometimes we think about the serious things and we're like, oh, that's just so heavy, man. That's downer. Don't want to. No. Some of these heavy things, you walk away and you feel like you've just gone through the best workout. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of these are like, this is muscle tone for the future. This is muscle tone for living. And you don't get toned up by doing the flabby stuff. You get toned up by doing the strong stuff. And this is a serious, yes, I know, can be serious topic, but you walk away toned up and you get better at it. You don't get toned up by not talking about it, by not thinking about it, not feeling it.
Completely agree. Man, I was starting to feel something because it actually just there in that moment as you're saying that it reminded me back to watching the film again earlier today when I think it was in Kate's story where she was kind of controlling everything really, like in the household, and just and her husband just didn't want to face facts with what is happening. And so I think you then took it back later on in the film where it was like maybe a year or two had passed, or I'm not sure the time span, but he was now more responsible. And it's due to these conversations. Yes. And so it's like this right now and what needs to happen. And if people just start those conversations now, they'll be armed. And I think, and I think you portrayed it very well within the film that, and I'm sorry if I'm like maybe giving spoilers or anything like that, but the fact that they had that conversation, I think she felt assured that, okay, because she knows what her fate is, but that she felt assured that her husband will be able to handle business and with the family and all of that. And that just touched my heart. That touched my heart.
Yeah, Patrick, you caught it right. Exactly. Thank you for saying that, because, as we're editing it, we're trying to show what they were showing us, and sometimes you're not sure. So you saying that is super helpful to me, and Michelle, the editor, will like to hear that. He came back a strong lover of his wife. And not that he wasn't before. That's the wrong way to say it. He came back knowing more than he did before about how to take care of his wife, who was about to pass, and his son that was about to not have a mom. The first time we interviewed him, he was also a strong man because he was open to crying and this is a soldier from, I believe he's from Alabama, who comes back and is telling us in vulnerable ways. This is three years ago. And then, as you said, 2 years after that, he comes back and he's like, he's not trying to be anything. He's not. You just feel it. He's not ready, but he's ready. Because before, he didn't want to take control. Because if he took control, what does that mean? His wife is going. Like the better he is at running the family, because she ran the family, he knew the better he got, the faster she's going. And sure enough, after COVID, which is the best gift to that family, COVID was the best gift to that family because they spent 2 years together. Great years. And he got stronger. And now she's gone. So he didn't want it. He got it at the end. And I think that's partially Kate's a strong woman. Why, she may have said, okay, I don't have to stick around anymore.
Richard Liu, shout out to you, your entire team. I'm honored by this conversation, and thank you for this film that is going to help so many people. And I can't wait to share it with my friends and family once it arrives in November, y'all, this year. Hidden Wounds, Richard Liu. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you, sir. Thank
Really
you,
a pleasure.
Patrick. You're the man. Thank you.
No worries, y'all. NRW Nerds Rule the World, Richard Liu. Check out Hidden Wounds when it arrives, November 2022.
Thank you.